Welcome to Cosmo Talks. I'm Petra. In this episode, we explore why you're more ecosystem than machine and how you can be a good host to your microorganisms. Because together, you form a fascinating ecosystem. And when the interaction is right, when the crosstalk runs smoothly, you flourish. When your car breaks down, you take it to the garage. The mechanic finds the faulty part, replaces it, and you drive off again. But what if your body doesn't work like that? What if the problem is never in one part, but in the relationship between parts? What if repairing isn't the solution, but tuning? Today you'll discover why machine thinking about your body leads you astray, and what happens when you finally see yourself for what you really are, a living, responding ecosystem. Your body communicates constantly. Your organs communicate through hormones, through neurotransmitters, and, as we now know, through the metabolites your microbiome produces. This is not machine logic, this is ecosystem logic, and the difference is fundamental. In a machine, 1 plus 1 equals 2, always, predictable, linear. In an ecosystem, 1 plus 1 can equal 3 or 0.5 or something else entirely, depending on context. This is what we call nonlinear dynamics, and it's exactly how living systems work. Take your immune system. It's not a defense wall keeping attackers out. It's a complex network that constantly learns, remembers, and adjusts. And your microbiome plays a central role in that. About 70% of your immune cells are located in your gut. They're trained by your gut bacteria. Literally, your microorganisms teach your immune system the difference between friend and foe, between food and danger. When that training is disrupted by antibiotics, by a monotonous diet, by chronic stress, your immune system can overreact or react too slowly, not because it's broken, but because the communication is failing. This explains why the same treatment works for one person and not for another. It's not a matter of a broken part. It's a matter of context, of relationships between systems, of crosstalk. In ecosystems, there's also something called resilience. A healthy ecosystem can absorb shocks and return to balance. A weakened ecosystem cannot. Your microbiome is a buffer. It can absorb variations in your diet, dampen stress, ward off pathogens, but only if it's diverse enough, only if it has the space to do its work. At Cosmo Group, we've been learning this lesson since we started in 2007. In the beginning, we looked for defects, for deviations from a norm, for the one thing that was wrong. But with microbiome research, that approach didn't work. What we called a deviation often turned out to be an adaptation. What we called a problem was sometimes a compensation. The body was doing exactly what it needed to do, given the circumstances. The problem wasn't the system, but the input it was getting. This forced us to look differently, not at isolated data points, but at patterns, not at snapshots, but at trajectories, not at what deviates from average, but at what's functional for this specific individual. One of our most instructive cases was an endurance athlete who, by every standard measurement, was healthy, but he wasn't recovering well after heavy exertion. Only when we followed his microbiome over time did we see that certain bacteria essential for energy metabolism were systematically suppressed, not by disease, but by his specific dietary pattern, no faulty part, a disrupted relationship, and when we restored that relationship, his recovery came back. The difference between machine thinking and ecosystem thinking changes how you see yourself. If you're a machine,
then every problem is a defect, then aging is wear and tear, then health is a matter of maintenance until something breaks beyond repair. But if you're an ecosystem, then every problem is a signal, then aging is a shift in balances you can influence, then health isn't an end state, but an ongoing process of tuning. This is not optimism, this is biology. Ecosystems can recover, they can adapt, they can even become stronger after stress, what we call anti-fragility. You're not a machine that inevitably wears out. You're an ecosystem that responds to how you treat it, and that's fundamentally more hopeful. Here's a biohack that comes directly from ecosystem thinking: variation. Ecosystems thrive on diversity. Monocultures are vulnerable, so break your routines. Eat something this week you don't normally eat. Take a different route to work. Sleep once without an alarm. Exercise at a different time than usual. Small variations train your system to stay flexible. They prevent your microbiome and yourself from getting stuck in patterns that were once useful but are now limiting. Ecosystems that only ever get the same thing become impoverished. Give yourself variation. This was Cosmo Talks. Remember, you are an ecosystem that responds, and that's good news, because every moment is a new opportunity. Want more insights, stories, and applications? Find us at cosmogroup.eu and on social media. Until the next episode.